Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to another vlog video, and yet again, another update video, and I'm hoping that this will be, like, the last major update that I'll do. And by last major, I mean, like, in terms of, like, adjusting things and stuff like that. So, if you're ready to hear this, then get ready to hear it, because this might be, like, the last time I'll talk about this before the ultimate beginning, and what may very well be the ultimate end. So, here we go. So, needless to say, I've been thinking about this for like the past month or two. And at first, I was going to wait until like literally in November. But now, I think about it, the more it's like, you know what, we'll just go ahead and kick it into gear. Effectively as of Tuesday night. So, basically, my plan was to go ahead and do a Let's Play of Fatal Frame 3. This is the one game I've been wanting to play for like the past 2 years, because unfortunately I wasn't able to play it last year due to the fact that I was moving into the new apartment. And that being said, now I have time to where I can actually play it. That said, however, I also thought about it, and I was like, do I really want to just wait until October kicks in to do it, or should I just go ahead and just do it in general, in which case I just go ahead and do it. So, the plan is this, is that I will be streaming Fatal Frame 3, and then later on throughout the week, it will be released on YouTube. So for those of you that are afraid that it won't be released on YouTube, it will be. I mean, it's Fatal Frame 3 for crying out loud later. It was like the last Fatal Frame game that got a physical release, much less on the PlayStation 2. So it's like, I owe it that much to you guys to release it on YouTube, especially since the last 2 Fatal Frame games that I've played has went really well. It's probably like, I wouldn't say it's like my most successful Let's Plays, but it's the one Let's Play that I actually don't mind getting jump scares from, because it has an eerie atmosphere, but it works to its advantage, and it's a creative one for that matter. I am not much of a fan of jump scares, horror movies and stuff like that. It's only when it's like, how can I put this? The best way for me to explain it is that if any of you have watched The Grey with Liam Neeson in it, that is the perfect example of my definition of level of horror. Now technically it is not defined as a horror, but rather a thriller. And that to me is what I like better, is the thriller aspect, because of the intense feeling of where it's like something's going to happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen. Whereas most horror movies nowadays, they more or less define into the realm of gruesome, death-defying, graphically images, horrifying images. Whereas The Grey, it does it subtly, and it happens for like a quick moment. It doesn't last for like 50 minutes, apparently. The way it feels like to some horror movies. Now, I'm not going to say that for like some of the older monster movies. The older monster movies have that eerie vibe, and it stays like that for like the majority of the time, but it never gives you that graphic, divine moment for like hours on end. Instead, it gives you that sudden moment, and then it settles back to that eerie moment again. It may be me, I don't know. Maybe that's just how I like it. Maybe I just like the older horror films compared to the newer ones nowadays. Or maybe I just can't handle the graphic imagery. It could be that. Either way, I've been wanting to play Fatal Frame 3 for quite some time now. But I also have a reason why I'm changing it up rather than just doing a regular Let's Play. So, on my channel, if you guys haven't noticed, view rate as well as subscribers rating has been, I wouldn't go as far as to say as completely dead, because I still get like peaks of views, but not to a point to where they tell me that I am on the progressive path to where I want to be at. Instead, it's kind of a standstill. However though, on Twitch, I'm not gonna lie, even though I haven't been Twitch streaming a lot, I've seen a lot more successfulness coming out of Twitch rather than YouTube. And it could be because of the fact that Twitch streaming, when it comes to like gameplay-wise and stuff like that, it's more successful compared to that of YouTube. YouTube, it seems like Let's Plays, and I think the ones that started it all, like Jack and Markiplier, have noticed it, but it's gone on the downcline. Now, it could be me, maybe it's because of the fact that I'm not as good as those guys, but it's not been that well received. I mean, even for a game like Okami and stuff like that, it hasn't really peaked up as much. Now, I will admit that there are a lot of people who have this ideal, and it's more true than you think, and that the only way you're going to get increasing views is if you reach that peak point of popularity. Like, for example, Fortnite, Fortnite is a very popular game, and unless you have a Fortnite Let's Play going on, you're not going to see the views that you're going to get. But if you guys know me more than anything, you also know for a fact that why would I want to play Fortnite whenever there's so many other games that I have more interest in? I guess the best way for me to explain it is that I don't go into competitive gaming, much less multiplayer for that matter. If I want to play a game with somebody, I would rather have them sit right next to me in couch co-op than anything. Then again, I would also prefer, if we were going to do online, is that we plan ahead. But the problem is that the last couple times I tried to do that, it's never been that successful, if nothing else. So I mostly stick to single player, unless someone is playing a multiplayer game that I currently am playing or I'm interested in, then yeah, I join in a heartbeat. But I hadn't gotten into Monster Hunter World, I hadn't gotten into Fortnite, I hadn't gotten into Overwatch, and those are like some of the top tier popularity going on this year. But I just hadn't got interested in it. Then again, I could have been some of the people that could have jumped on board with the God of War game that's been gone out this year, but I wasn't interested in it. I kind of lost interest in within 3 months prior before its release date. And so it's like, yeah, I just don't feel like playing it right now. So it's like, why play a game if you're not willing to commit to it? You know what I mean? Whereas all these other games I've been wanting to play. And I've been wanting to replay the Final Fantasy series, which I have been so far. We're already halfway through it at this point. And I've really enjoyed doing that. But I've only seen a positive when it comes to the mainstream of things on Twitch. I haven't really seen it on YouTube per se. On YouTube it is very lax. There's hardly anyone watching it. Whereas on Twitch I've got an average, I'm not going to say it's a constant average, but I get to 3, sometimes 5 per night. And keep in mind, I stream 1 or 2 per week. And that's on an average of 2 to 3 hours. So part of me is thinking to itself, and it's the only way the channel is going to grow, or for that matter, this entire thing entirely is going to grow, is if I invest my entire commitment onto Twitch streaming. And that may be what I may have to do eventually, is just to go full commitment into Twitch streaming entirely. So, yeah, I mean, it's how it is. But I do want to set a few things before I just flat out say I'm going to Twitch only and then that's it. And by the end of this video, I hope you'll still be committed to watching the channel. If nothing else, you'll at least get to see a few good stuff coming out of it within the up and coming month, per se at least. First and foremost, let me just go ahead and say this right now, that the Final Fantasy series will still be released on YouTube. In other words, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 will be released in its entirety. In other words, the entire stream play that I'll be doing on Twitch will eventually be released on YouTube at a later date. So if you want to watch it then, it will be on YouTube. If you want to watch it while I'm playing it, go on to Twitch and you'll get to see it currently as it happens. Final Fantasy 15, however, due to the fact that I hadn't really played it since the last major update, being that of the Royal Edition, it will mostly be consistent of a highlight reel, with the exception of the new stuff that comes out. With the new stuff that comes out and everything like that, I will have those released regularly, whereas everything else will happen as a random statement. That being said, Fatal Frame will also be the last major Let's Play that I'll be having on this YouTube that will be released on a normal schedule. And keep in mind, I do plan on doing live stream with Fatal Frame. So, there you go. Fatal Frame 3 will be like the last major Let's Play that will be released. Now, that being said, any Let's Play series that me and Delmar does, like for example, Super Mario RPG, that will be released shortly soon. I promise you, me and Delmar are making plans to doing the Let's Play series of Super Mario RPG, and I will have that released sometime later on within the next week or two, I'll say. I'm not sure if I'll have it released by the end of this week, but I will try to get it out sometime within the next 2 weeks. But we'll see what happens. Another thing, too, I want to go ahead and set out is that this channel will most likely be turned into like a vlog slash gaming news slash discussion video series. Now, like I've said before in the past, this has mostly been a Let's Play series. So, I'm not going to end the ideal concept of me sharing my experience with these other games that I haven't played before, as I will still do them. If not with the highlight reels that I'll be releasing on occasional basis. I also will be releasing Deep Dive into Gaming every so often. If you don't know, that game series is where I basically give my in-depth thoughts about the game and my overall opinion. I've done a number of them so far. In fact, I am planning on one to do my most latest Let's Play that I've done, but I'll get into that within another time per se. But for every game that I haven't played, that I finally got to play and everything like that, I will do a deep dive into gaming and give you my in-depth thoughts on the game per se. So, hope you'll stay tuned to watch all those. And as for the Let's Plays themselves, whenever I play a game on Twitch, which, again, you can check out at any time you want to, if you'll check those out and everything like that, I will set up a highlight reel for YouTube per se, in terms of like highlight Twitch reels. I guess that's the best way to explain it, I guess. I don't know. But we'll just see what happens. I think that's the best ideal for me to go about, is that when we get to that point in time, all the games that I have played on Twitch will be turned into highlight reels. Now, if for some reason the channel starts to spike up in terms of popularity, which at this point right now I don't see it happening on YouTube, but on Twitch it might, but we'll see what happens from there. But if for some reason popularity skyrockets and you want me to do more Let's Plays on YouTube, I will try to do that within the future. It's just, there's two sides to this argument that I have in my head right now. There's the fact that I'm not as entertaining as some of the more popularity YouTubers, and the majority of the content that I have in terms of Let's Play is mostly dry. And I think a lot of people know this. It's mostly dry within the realm of thinking. And it's like I have to force myself to come up with conversations just to make the video interesting. And then there's another part of me in my head that says it missed the normal game. You know, the normal playing game, like you're actually playing the game, instead of like going from point A to point B and being afraid of making a gap of nothing but emptiness. You know what I mean? Just me playing the game and me retrying something over and over and over again, ultimately to having to cut that much off just so that it would fit into a single video. I'm always afraid that if I don't come up with conversations, that I'm going to be boring. And the reality is, I'm not entirely boring. In fact, some people would say I'm mostly interesting. To some degree, I guess. But the point is that I don't want my channel to be nothing but boredom. I want them to be interesting enough to where people want to keep watching more and more. And if they're nothing but empty conversations, then it's not going to work out. Whereas if I do it this way, do live stream Let's Play on Twitch, and then over time have that be shrunk into like maybe a 30-minute to 15-minute short of like highlight stuff that happens within the live stream, then that would probably be better. At least that's what I'm thinking in my head. I think doing it this way would be better, you know. And for those of you that are asking, on Twitch streaming, I'm just going to be playing the game. playing the game that I've been wanting to play, playing the games that I've been wanting to play, and stuff like that. And depending on the game per se, probably complete them on live stream. Who knows? Maybe that would be pretty interesting to see in the future. But for the most part, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's where I believe I want to do. And at the same time, that's where my heart and soul wants to be at. Is that it wants to go back into that gaming vibe. But it can't do that if it continues to hold on to YouTube in general. And I think this is where YouTube burns out comes into play. Now, like I've said in the past, it's mostly Let's Play, so why would I get burned out from playing video games? It's because I've had to force myself to come up with conversation just to make it interesting. And that's where I want to do it on Twitch instead of YouTube comes into play. It's one thing if I had a second person all the time. That's one thing. But the problem with that is that getting scheduling fixed up to where it can do that. I can manage my own time perfectly. It's everybody else's time that would never work. Like Delmar, he has his own stuff to do. I'm not going to force him to sit down right next to me every day to do a Let's Play in order for this to work. No, I want him to do it whenever he wants to do it. And that's why we try to do it in the best way we can. That's why the Mullen Studio podcast hasn't gone out so much. It's because of the fact that both of us haven't been able to sit down long enough to do a podcast. There hasn't been a chance to where we can both play Super Mario RPG long enough. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, we're trying to fit our time scheduling to work on this situation, but we got so much going on around us that we can't do it. And so it's like, we have the lack of freedom to do whatever we want, per se. So it's not like a complete burnout, but it seems like it is. I think that's the best way to explain it. That it seems like it's a burnout, but in reality it's not a major burnout, but it's close to one, as most people would say. Because in terms of burnout, in my thinking, is that you've run out of ideals. It's not you've run out of ideals, it's just you got tired of the grind of having to put out videos all the time on YouTube, that you just need a break from it. And I think maybe that's what this is that I want a break from YouTube, and I just want to try out Twitch. I keep hitting that mic. I want to just go into Twitch streaming and just to see what happens, you know, just to see what happens, you know what I mean? Who knows, maybe it might be better, maybe it might make things an improvement, who knows really, it's only a matter of time to see what happens. And I'm hoping that I will try to create more videos. Maybe if I do it this way, maybe I might be able to come up with better videos. Maybe I might make better material for the YouTube channel per se, and maybe it'll skyrocket from there. Who's to say, really, in all honesty. Right now, it is like on the dry end, and so to see where this goes, it's a matter of just waiting and see what happens. Which is why I'm going to go ahead and make this announcement. Now, allow me to explain things. Like I said before, Fatal Frame and the Final Fantasy series will be released in its normal rate on YouTube, but I will be streaming them on Twitch. So if you want to watch it on Twitch first, watch it every night, because I'll be streaming those. If you're not able to, they will be released on YouTube eventually. Now, that being said, however, I will be doing every other game that I will be doing. I will be mostly doing a highlight reel, per se, of that game. For example, the first game that will be coming out will be Sinner. That game, I've been waiting for it to come out for a couple of months now, since like March and April, because it was dated for April 25th, but unfortunately never came out, and instead it got pushed back, and now the release date is saying October 18th, I think. So in other words, that's going to be like the first major game that's going to have a highlight reel of its own. So when that game comes out, I will be playing that for a live stream, and then I will be doing highlight reels, and then you'll just get to enjoy me suffering from dying all the time. It's supposed to be like a Dark Souls like game, except just the bosses themselves. So that's what made me interested the most, is that it's just a glorified boss arena type thing. Sort of like that of Fury in a way, but a little bit differently, I think, from what it sounds like. But we'll see how that goes, because I'm very interested to see what comes out of that one. I've been waiting for that one for a while. So that's going to be like the first major highlight game reel that will come out on YouTube. But I will be streaming that one on Twitch, so be sure to check that out. And as for the time schedules per se, I'm going to try to push for, maybe this would be a better example, but from like Thursday to Monday, with the exception of Sunday, and I'll get to explain that in just a sec. But from Thursday on to Saturday and then Monday, I want to schedule it for like 6 p.m. on to like 8:30 p.m. And there's the reason why I say that time, because technically I get up at 5:30. I've been getting used to this habit all the time, and then I go into work at like 9. So, needless to say, I need that extra time to kind of get myself ready for work, and that's like a perfect 2-hour stream moment to do something with. So that's like the main general ideal, is that on those days I will be streaming from 6 p.m. on up to like 8:30 p.m. and depending, it may be 6:30 p.m. Who knows really at that point. But Sunday, that will probably be like the one day I won't stream, because that Sunday morning, me and Delmar usually go visit our folks during that day. But we usually get to sleep at like 12, and so we get up relatively late to where we can get ready to work and still have a full day's rest. So I probably won't be streaming on that day. And as for like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I want to try to stick to the 6 to 8 p.m., but it's a matter of we'll see what happens, because I'm not going to flat out and say, yes, from Monday through Saturday it's going to be 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m., depending on how you look at it. But if you've noticed, some Tuesdays and some Wednesdays I don't stream, and that's because I usually have like a full day of stuff that I gotta do, and I don't get to bed until like maybe 3 to sometimes even 8 p.m. It kind of sucks, really. So I can't promise that I'll be streaming at that exact time, but I want to stream at least from Monday to Saturday. And as for the time frame, it's just a matter of like, we'll see what happens. So I can't make any promises, but I'm gonna have to update that thing on Twitch, the banner Twitch stream, to where people will know what time I might actually appear, so that way they don't think, oh, it's after midnight, that means he'll be there, and I'm not really there. But I will try to get that fixed up within due time. But if nothing else, if you are following me on Twitter, I post my stuff on Twitter to let people know when I am actually streaming. So if you're following me on Twitter, you'll know what time I'm actually going to be streaming. So we'll go from there. But anyway though, guys, thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope all of this makes sense for you guys, and I hope you understand why I'm making this big adjustment. And I hope you'll stick with me until then. So thank you so much, guys, for your attention and watching this. And yeah, let's just hope that by doing this, maybe I'll get somewhere with it. We'll see. I mean, 2019 is going to be a big year for game, and in particular, in my case. So maybe it might be that 1 year that I'll finally get to that spike level in terms of where I want to be at. But we'll see what happens. So thank you guys so much for your time and attention, and I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch every last one of you in another day, and may God bless you guys. See you later.